My interaction with people from different walks of life has made me appreciate the saying that a problem shared is a problem halved.
The brother comes in, opens the door, and innocently, I'm like, good morning, like, and then, bam, he jumps on me and he forces himself on me. I try to, fight it, but I couldn't.
An experience shared is a life saved or a life improved.
I think parents should, create an environment where their children feel free and safe to like communicate with them, about all these things.
Join me every week as I sit with incredible people willing to share their joys and struggles and incidences that propelled them from one point to the next. My story, your story, our life. At the age of 16, something awful happened to you.
Yeah.
Do you have a recollection of how events unfolded on that day?
Yes. I got sick after starting my first job at the age of 16.
At the age of 16, you were studying, rather, you were working?
Yes.
How come? A lot of us were still struggling with exams.
Yeah, but I'd come back to Rwanda and I was trying to, settle in and everying.
Okay.
It was more...
You were done with high school?
Not exactly done, but I was, trying to stand on my own and do it on my own. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So I got a job and then I got sick in towards the end of the first month at work, and then I had to go home and rest. So I contacted my primary teacher to give me one of my my friend's brother's number to go there. So he gave me the number and then I went there because I couldn't go to my grandmother's place because she was verbally abusive and she was an alcoholic, so I was terrified of her, go there and then sick and then with all the events.
Prior to starting that job, you were staying with your grandma?
No, I wasn't staying with her. I had left the country, but then when I came back,
you avoided going back?
I avoided going back to her place, but she was in my childhood. I lived with her, and then we could go there for Christmas. She's my grandma, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so you called a primary school teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Why, of all the people around you, why did you go back to a primary school teacher? Why did you call a friend's brother and not another relative or another friend?
Well,
or even not that best friend of yours. Why did you call the brother?
Because she didn't have a phone at the time. The brother had a phone, I think.
How long ago was this? Do you remember the year?
Yeah, 2011 is when it happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you got the brother's number?
Yeah, I got the brother's number and then went to their place, stayed there, and it was one morning when my friend had gone to school. She was still in school. And then I'm lying there sleeping in the bedroom, sick. And the brother comes in, opens the door, and innocently, I'm like, good morning, and then, bam, he jumps on me and he forces himself on me. I tried to, fight it, but I couldn't because I was weak. So yeah, he raped me. It happened.
God, how did that feel?
It felt bad. It felt awful.
Did he use a condom? Did he look like he was prepared to do this, or is it possible you opened for him and it just occurred that he could take advantage of that moment?
No, the door was open. It wasn't locked with a...
So it was preconceived. He thought about it before he came in.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the goal he had when he opened the door to come in.
Okay.
Yeah, so whether he was using a condom, no, he wasn't using a condom. It was unprotected rape.
At the age of 16, was that your first sexual encounter?
Yes.
That was so sad. How did you react immediately after that?
When you're raped, immediately you feel like something has been, stolen from you. You feel powerless. You feel shameful. You feel dirty. Yeah. So
did he stand there to watch you go through this, or did he finish and walked away?
No, he stands up and then he tells me, so you're going to leave now or I'm going to call the cops on you.
Why?
And then he
what
goes,
had you done? Who had raped the other? Who was supposed to call the cops?
I think it was more of like, he feels guilty already. So it was like, she's young, I'm sure she won't figure it out. So let me just scare her off, to not take any action.
Yeah. Okay, Patricia, every time I have read a story of a rape victim or even watched it on TV, a lot of them will give that excuse of threat. Like if somebody is asked, why didn't you talk about it then? One girl will say it's because he threatened to beat me up. Another person will say he threatened to finish up my family. A lot of people will give reasons why they did not speak. But there's somebody who's watching and they're thinking, no, you could have done something about it. It doesn't matter how threatened you are, somebody has taken something away from you. It should not matter what amount of fear or threats the issue. You should be able to walk out and talk to somebody. From an observer's point of view, I might look at it as an easy thing to do. You're a 16-year-old. You have somebody that you can go to. It should be easy for you to talk about it.
Yeah, well, I didn't do it when it happened, and that's...
And just because he told you he'd call cops on you?
And then, it's more of like, see, these things happen with, people that, like people that have been around you. Like, it could be like, your uncle, your friends, someone like, So it's more of like, besides feeling powerless after that happening to you, you feel like, who's going to believe me? Like, you feel powerless, and then you feel ashamed, and then there's guilt that comes with it. It will be more of like, okay, maybe I put myself in this situation. Like maybe if I didn't come here, like this wouldn't have happened. You go into a cage like there. So I didn't do it, and that's why I'm coming out to like encourage women, girls, or even men actually, because they're also getting molested and all that. If something like this happens to you, feel free to like reach out to the nearest authority or someone that can be of help like immediately.
So when did you first talk about it, and to whom?
Well, I first talked about it in 2014.
Happened in 2011. You're first talking about it in 2014.
Yes.
To anyone special?
Yes, my son.
Who was that? Your son's dad. Your son's dad. Was the son a result of that rape?
No.
Oh, okay.
There's a couple
in
of
between,
years,
something happened in between a few other events.
Yeah.
So your son's dad, how did you start this conversation?
And I
would love to know how he reacted.
Yeah, our relationship started off as a friendship. So we were having all these conversations, like you go on dates and have conversations. So this one in particular also, popped up. And then once I told him, he was like, he didn't take it. He was like, how could you do this to a human? Like, how could anyone do this? And he asked the same question that most of people, would ask, like, did you report it? Like, did he get arrested? Or I was like, no, yeah. But he reacted, he was shocked.
He was shocked. And that was the only person you talked to until you chose to speak to us.
No, I had this conversation with my friends as well. I believe in 2016, and then they just laughed it off. Like, we know you as a hardcore. Like, who could rape you? I'm like, I was 16. Yeah, so it's not like I had any superpowers or anything. Like, this is something that happens. Yeah.
When it happened, were you scared that it would happen again? That there would be a repeat of that? Because from what I hear is, if it happens the first time, there's a likelihood it will happen the second, the third, and the fourth time. Were you at any point scared that somebody else was going to take advantage of you?
Yes, and after today, you try to heal from it, but the trauma, I think, doesn't go away completely, especially if you haven't gotten like professional help. You're always scared. Like, I have a son now. I'm like, anytime I leave him with someone, I'm like, you get all this nervous and like, what if it happens? What if it happens? What if it happens? And also to me as well, like, it doesn't completely go away. I think the more like you talk about it, the more you share it, the more you feel safe to talk about it. I think maybe with time, like, it'll go away. Yeah.
Might help you. How did that incident change how you related with the males that surrounded you, whether they were relatives or friends?
The trust goes away. You struggle, trusting someone, and you're like, this thing happens to you, and like you generalize, like men are cowards, men are like this, men are like that, yeah. So it took me a while. Even now, like I still struggle with it. Like I don't fully, like feel safe around men in general.
The person that raped you, do you see him? Is it okay? Do you see him today? But also, how was it the first time you saw him after that day?
No, I don't see him today.
Today.
And I don't think I've seen him after after that happened. But he tried to reach out and actually asked me to marry him.
How could he even do that? Was that face to face, or did he send you a message?
He was on phone. I was like, he kept on like ringing my number. So I pick up to be like, would you stop calling my number? And he was like, just hold on, don't cut. I have something like to tell you. Like, it won't take time. So he's like, can you marry me?
What did you tell him? I hope you told him to go hang.
I don't remember exactly the words that I used, but they were not that nice.
They were not that nice.
Yeah.
I expected that. There's somebody who's watching and they're just wondering, this girl was 16 when this happened to her. Could she possibly know what can be done to curb rape cases, defilement? Because these things are happening. It's just that people don't come out to talk about them. Yeah. But here you are, and it's such a bold move that you have made. In your opinion, what can be done to reduce these cases?
Yeah, I think we go back, to the roots, like households, parents, and their children. I think parents should, create an environment where their children feel free and safe to like communicate with them, about all these things. And also, like, parents should have conversations with their kids,
children.
And it could be. A boy that may stand a chance to be raped, or a girl that may stand a chance to be, or maybe like the boy actually also may feel like it's okay for me to touch a girl like this, or a girl like feeling like it's okay for me to touch a boy like this. Like talk to them about rape and the consequences, and just have these conversations. And also, like in school, I think it's like a society on its own, it's a community on its own. So I think also like rape should be discussed openly. And if it happened to anyone, I think they should also, they should also be given a safe environment for them to like come out and like speak up and all that.
Okay.
Yeah.
What would you say to a woman who probably talked about it and she was blamed for how she was dressed or how she sat? It's always, the woman is always blamed in such cases. They'll be told, if you hadn't provoked him by the way you dressed, maybe that would not have happened to you. So if there's somebody who's watching and they're in that situation, what would you say to her?
It's okay. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. And the fact that they feel that you did this, like, see, these kinds of people that come out negatively and try to damage people emotionally or mentally or whatever, they're not okay on their own. Like, they're not fine. So just cut them out and give yourself a chance to heal, and it's not your fault.
Okay. How have you prepared yourself for the repercussion? Because there might be.
I personally, I don't think like people's opinion, especially if it's negative, I don't think like it matters to me. As long as my message is out, as long as I'm helping someone out there, like, I'm good to go. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Patricia. Thank you so much for watching Evolve. Patricia Uwantege was our guest, and we were talking about rape defilement. As you heard, she's encouraged you to create safe spaces that encourage people to share their experiences. Silence is what makes these things keep happening, because the person next door that defiles somebody's child in the neighborhood is not known. They'll keep doing it to the next person and the next and the next. So let's create safe spaces so that people are able to come out and that might help reduce these cases. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't done so.